Good day, CS442, final week! Let's take a rather pointless look at the schedule. We are here week 13. That means Module 10 is posted. Module 10 is quite short and doesn't really teach anything in a sense. It's more to make you think about what the applications are for everything that you've learned in CS442. So it should be a relatively easy read. It's worth reading. It's very short. Please do read it. And assignment 6 is not due this week. It is in fact due during the exam period on April 23rd, which is a Friday. If you're in CS642, that's also when your final project is due. So that's all that remains. One more assignment, then 442 is over. Now, this is obviously a bit of an interesting weekly update because this is a weird truncated week and we just have sort of a half module. So rather than talking about what's left to do, because there's not much left to do, I want to talk about what went right, what went wrong, how I think CS442 went. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I hadn't taught this course before, and this course hadn't been taught online before. Some things worked. Some things did not. My intention was to have text-based notes with occasional supplementary videos to show examples, demonstrations, and that kind of thing. What I wanted to avoid was video lectures. The thing is, you have now spent 4 years falling asleep in front of lectures. In what way is that aided by putting the lectures, well, in this format? Now I just can't see that you're sleeping through the lecture. Yay, that is in some way better. So text notes are actually better as a basis because you can go back and reread over them and mark things and note it up and ask questions more effectively. But definitely videos were needed, and I kind of failed there. I hoped that I could get video examples and demonstrations through the entire course, and at a certain point, it just got to be too much, and I couldn't do it. I was also doing videos for CS241 at the time. That was really the problem. If I had, only one course to think about, then that probably would have been doable, but I apologize for that. Apology is all I can do. A better version of this course would have had more and more demonstrative videos, particularly for the last half where there are just none. As for what I think went right, so previous versions of 442 have been notorious in certain ways as types courses. I am not a types person. I'm not opposed to types, but I think that most of what's interesting about programming languages is how they work, how they run, the semantics, rather than the types. And so I savagely cut the types content of this course and swapped that all out for semantics of more and more varied kinds of programming languages. Overall, I think that worked. I think the structure worked well. I think the order of the modules worked well. They all flowed into each other and could reference back to each other in useful ways. I think a lot of the sort of overall structural things worked all right. All of the exemplars, I think, ended up being exactly the right ones. I hemmed and hawed for a long time over what exemplars I should use for particular programming paradigms. Ultimately, I think exactly the right ones are the ones I chose. It happened to work out really, really well. What else went right? List is getting short. I think, in theory, OCaml and Smalltalk were the right languages to choose. GNU Smalltalk is really making me unhappy, but I don't know what else to do, and using Squeak or Pharaoh, one of the graphical interactive Smalltalk environments, it would be impossible to grade. It would be just horrendous to grade those submissions. So Smalltalk is the right language. I don't know what the right implementation of Smalltalk is. And OCaml, many students and some random subset of students, it's just strange, fought the student Linux environment. It wouldn't install things correctly. It all worked initially for me, which is why I created the instructions I did, but then some random subset of students it didn't, and luckily some of you managed to fix that. So it's a bit of a mess. The actual sort of the language selection in terms of what the languages are was right. In terms of the actual implementation, I mean, we're kind of stuck. There aren't a lot of other options, but yeah, a lot sort of fell through and didn't go well there. Other things that went wrong, so the assignments were sometimes more ambiguous than I intended for them to be. As, you know, a bit of honesty, they're always supposed to be a little bit ambiguous, because if I give you all of the steps, then actually implementing it becomes quite trivial. But sometimes they were ambiguous to the point of not being clear what's supposed to be done. That's a natural thing when it's the first time this kind of assignment has been done. Obviously, the assignments will change a bit term to term as I teach this in future terms, but the basic idea will be the same. Build a bunch of interpreters, and I need, you know, experience with writing such assignments and with students reacting to such assignments to make it right. So yeah, those kinds of problems are slightly inevitable for a first time teaching the course in this mode. Overall, I think things went better than not. I think mostly 442 went well. I hope you agree. I don't really have a lot else to say. I also mentioned this at the end of Module 10 and took more time to sort of put my thoughts together rather than this blithering that I'm doing right now, so please do read that. If you want to suggest things for when this is taught back in reality again, because hopefully I will be teaching this course over and over again, you've been the guinea pigs, but in future versions it'll be more polished, shall we say. If you have suggestions for things that should be done right, other than the obvious fix the typos, that sort of thing, then please do tell me. Piazza is the best place to tell me that. You can also email me if that's nicer. Overall, though, I think things went better than not. Nothing else to add? This is the last weekly update, so that's it. Thank you for watching.